What's up, guys? We are back with another Masters of the Universe review, taking a look at a new MOTU Revelation figure. And of course that means we're taking a look at another Masterverse figure from the new entire line, basically. So we have got the absolutely massive Battle Cat today. So this is a deluxe figure. It's sort of separate from Wave 1, like it's shipping with Wave 1, but it's showing up kind of apart from Wave 1 as well. So we've got just a humongous figure. This thing is bigger than the Classics Battle Cat, as best I can tell, and it looks pretty cool. I'm really excited to take a look at a brand new Battle Cat. So we've got him here in familiar packaging based on the Skelegod figure that I looked at recently. So same kind of weird trapezoidal shape. It's just humongous. I mean, this thing is like a 1.5 feet long. It's humongous packaging. So you got Battle Cat there in the window. We've got the Revelation logo down here on the bottom, and then you've got a bunch of like hieroglyphics up here on the top that showcase a bunch of stuff from Masters of the Universe. Not really much on the side though, and then you've got some artwork here on the back showcasing He-Man, running into battle with Battle Cats, and then Castle Grayskull there on the back with cross-sell for Wave 1. So you got Skelegod, He-Man, Mossman, Skeletor, and Evil Lyn, and then he does have a little bit of a bio and a nice call-out that you can make Cringer out of him if you take the armor off. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go. Out of the package are Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation Battle Cat. That's a mouthful, and I think it's going to be for every single figure we get in this particular line. And this thing is a bit of a surprise. I was not really sure what to expect with this figure. I mean, until I saw folks posting it, and then of course until I got my hands on one. But as far as I'm concerned, the gold standard Battle Cat is, and still is, the Classics Battle Cat. This guy, however, is really giving him a run for his money. There is a lot going on here, and this is one of those figures that in the instance where you don't have a Classics Battle Cat and maybe you've thought about dropping a lot of money these days on a Battle Cat, this is probably the version to go with, unless you absolutely need the Classics one. This is a really, really nice Battle Cat that is very modern, very much in line with Classics, and of course is freaking huge. So this thing has a lot going for it, just right out of the gate. I'm not 100% sold on this particular design in every aspect, but I think this is a fantastic Battle Cat. So let's see what we've got, see what's going on, see how it moves. I'm going to take the armor off for the articulation just so you can better see it, because well, let's just do it. Let's just do it, and then we'll take it off as we do it. Let's do it that way. So you've got a head that can look up. It unfortunately can't look up as much as I would like, and that's kind of true for most Battle Cats, but he does look up enough, and the way the helmet works, it sort of angles itself, and there are eyes on the helmet that allow you to sort of kind of fudge it almost. He can look down really, really good, and the helmet locks onto the ears, so it's not going to fall off if you have it on correctly, which, I'll probably knock it off. You've got really good tilt side to side. You do have full rotation. The neck is independently articulated as well, so a lot of that range comes from the neck itself. So let's pop this off and you can better see it. Of course, we've also got the articulated jaw in there as well, but you can see just how much it does move. All that side to side is basically at the head. Most of the up and down is the both of them in concert to actually make it work. But the down is really, really good on this guy. As far as the legs go, you can swivel them forward and backward. There is a little bit of pivot in and out. You've got your hinge down here at like the knee. It's a single hinge. Mine are kind of stiff, but that's not a bad thing here. So you've got a single hinge there, and then you also can rotate that. It basically swivels back and forth, but it's only one joint. And then you've got ankle hinge down here with a really, really good rocker. So there's a lot of movement potential in those legs. The same goes for the back. So they kick out, they kick forward. They do sort of pivot in and out at the hip. You've got your single jointed knee. And then, of course, there is rotation there. You've got the secondary ankle back here, which also has rotation. And then you've got your final ankle, I guess, if that's what the best way to call it, with hinge. And then you've got rocker down there as well. The tail is also articulated up and down, and then it rotates. Now, as far as the torso goes, it is double articulated, basically. So you can do this, which is really, really surprising. He can basically, you know, kick himself out all the way to the side. And then there is a little bit of up and down. It's not much, and honestly, I'm not sure it works all that well, at least as far as, well, what I've been doing with him. But it does move, and then we can take the armor off just to better show you sort of what he's doing. So you can see those cuts. They aren't the most aesthetically pleasing, I don't think, but functionally, he does move a lot. And then, of course, you can twist all in there, too, if you want to get, I don't know, kind of weird and wacky with it. You've got those options. But he does sort of hinge up and down if you want to get him into some sort of like a crouching pose or whatever in the world that is, you know, where he's sort of on his haunches almost. The armor doesn't really hinder that because it's super flexible, but I just wanted to be able to show you what it looks like. So, yeah, I mean, Battle Cat is, well, Cringer now, is really well articulated. He is very, very classics-ish, but I think this guy kind of edges him out in some ways. A lot of this movement is very fluid, and I have zero issues posing him. He stands really well. My joints are, like I said, you know, the front knees or ankles, whatever these are, knees, they are almost a little tight on mine, but not in a negative sense. Like, it doesn't really matter, and it's not posed any problems. Otherwise, I think this guy moves really well. It's a bit of a surprise to see. I'm really excited with what the posability possibilities, that sounded right, he has in store, because a lot of folks are going to be able to pull off some really crazy poses with this guy. Now, as far as the aesthetics go on this guy, I have a lot of love for this figure. I do have, I don't know, a few hang-ups when it comes to the overall design on a few things, but in a general sense, I think this is a really solid Battle Cat, and I can't stress that enough. I have been having a lot of fun with it. There are a few things that I just still prefer about the Classics Battle Cat, or, you know, even the Vintage Battle Cat, if we're going to take it even further back. But it's mostly little things that have been changed for this new show. So, you know, it's going to be one of those your mileage may vary kind of things on that. I think at a base level, it's a really solid toy. Size is incredibly impressive. I'm still very surprised at just how large he is. And I'll do a comparison to Classics Battle Cat. I mean, you've already seen Pixel Dance review by now, and he's compared it to this, that, and the other, and every Battle Cat that's ever existed. But he's massive. I mean, this thing is, you know, over a foot long. He's like 9 inches tall at the top of the saddle. It's pretty crazy just how big he is, and there's a lot going on here. I do think that at a base level, the figure itself is really nicely done. The ability to interchange it from Battle Cat to this really monstrous Cringer is really cool, because that's not a thing we get, you know, and even in Classics, we didn't really get that. When you take Battle Cat's armor off, he is definitely not Cringer under there, but when you take this armor off, he very much is. The armor on its own, I think, is really nicely done. The saddle in particular is very, I mean, it's very vintage inspired. It's very Classics-esque. It's huge. It's got a nice two-tone design with different finishes on it. So some of it's a little more matte, some of it's a little more glossy. As I showed, you can take it off. You know, you just pull the straps off and it comes right off. Super flimsy material, which I'm not sure how that's going to last over time. I'm not too concerned about it today, but we'll see. You know, ask me 10 years from now how that saddle's holding up. The helmet is where I kind of have my reservations, because I just don't know that I really like it. Like, I like some of it, but it's overall like super angular design. Like these things in particular, they're just not my cup of tea right now. That's really all it comes down to. I do think that it looks pretty good on him. Like, I think it's still fine, but at the same time, you know, if I wanted it, I would prefer this kind of design, a classic style helmet, something more like this. But again, it's for the new show, so they have to make it their own, and they're going to change it. It's certainly not going to be a carbon copy of everything we've ever had for 40 years. So it's a cool looking design. It's maybe not for me. I do really like that the eyes are painted on the helmet, though. That's really cool, just from the idea that I don't have to worry about lining things up instead of there being holes there or anything like that. Or on the Classics helmet, for example, there aren't really eyes there. It's just, well, they're eyes, but they're not pupils or anything like that. And then you can, of course, take this off, and we do have Cringer underneath there, which I think he looks pretty good. You know, this is obviously their interpretation of it. It's not necessarily Classics. It's not, no, well, that version of Cringer anyway. It's not necessarily vintage. It's not necessarily, Filmation inspired. There's all these little things that you could pull from, because even the colors on this particular figure, they aren't necessarily like vintage. They aren't necessarily like Filmation. It's a much more lime green color, whereas we usually saw Battle Cat as being sort of a little bit more foresty green, which is okay. I do think this works, and it's just a different take, and I do think it works pretty nicely here. He is, again, a massive, very large cat. He's super detailed, and I think the overall texturing on the sculpt is really nicely done. I love the tail. I think it looks really great. I do have some reservations on some of the paint applications. All of the tiger stripes, almost all of them really, have some little bits that are kind of not there, and I'm assuming that has to do with how it's applied alongside this texture, because you can sort of see it wicking away at the fur patterning that's there. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I'm not super beat up about it, but at the same time, it's a thing. I do think, and I'm happy, however, to say that Cringer's face is really well done. The mouth is nicely done. The teeth are all individually painted. The tongue, the gums, the whole deal. You've got that sort of lighter green in there. He just looks cool, and we're gonna take this off again just to show you. I mean, it's super easy, comes right off. And now you've got this humongous Cringer, which, I don't know if that's going to track or not when it comes to the show, but I do like the idea that we do have the option here, because that, again, is not a normal thing. Usually when you derobe Battle Cat, it's not necessarily Cringer underneath there, unless, of course, it's in your own imagination. This is definitely going for a Cringer style vibe, and I think that's a cool idea. So this guy, while he does have a few little things about him that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of, I think it's an awesome looking toy. He moves really well, and it's nice to be able to get both versions of this monstrous green cat. Now, as far as size comparisons, we've got to talk about size, right? I figured the best thing that I wanted to do anyway was Classics Battle Cat, because, it's still my preferred Battle Cat. This guy has not replaced him by any means, but at the same time, like I said, if you don't have this one and you wanted to buy it, it might be time to, consider a different option, because this Battle Cat is super expensive now, and this is $40, and I think it works pretty well even in Classics. They are, of course, very similar in many ways, but they're not exactly the same, obviously. And of course, one of the key differences is not just the deco and everything like that, but the size. This new Battle Cat is markedly bigger than our Classics Battle Cat, and this guy has always been a pretty beefy tiger. This thing just, he outclasses him in every aspect. He's taller, longer, overall beefier, because of course that's just how it works. If you make him longer or taller, he's going to be thicker in every respect as well. And kind of puts him in his place. Like, he almost looks small next to him, and he's definitely not a small toy by any means, but at the same time, that's just sort of what he looks like. So I think it's kind of cool that this thing is so big. I don't have any other figures. I don't have He-Man or Skeletor to compare against Classics, but I know that they are going to give Classics for a run for their money. So it's cool to see just how big they're making this line, and they're really making Battle Cat to be kind of a force to be reckoned with. So let's pull him aside, and we will kind of move Battle Cat sideways. And then this is what I've been using him for, basically. And for a while, or at least until I get a second one, this is probably what this figure is going to be for me. If you follow me on social, you know that I have been messing around with this cat and the William Stout Dolph Lundgren movie He-Man. I've always, and I've said it a million times, I love this movie. One of the things I wish that had been able to have been done in the movie was to give Dolph a Battle Cat. And I'm not going to give him the Classics Battle Cat because that goes with Classics He-Man. But I can give him one of these now without breaking the bank, without spending, $200 or whatever that thing costs now. I can spend $40 and give him Battle Cat, and he is absolutely humongous next to a Classics figure. This is the tallest He-Man because of him just being slightly larger than the rest. So you get an idea of what this guy looks like next to a 7-inch scale figure that is also slightly larger than the majority of the normal sized figures in the Classics line. Now, of course, I do have one Revelation figure, and that, of course, is Skelegod. So this is the larger figure in the line, at least, well, to a degree. So you can see just how big Battle Cat is by comparison here. Skelegod is, of course, a larger scale figure within this line. He's a deluxe figure. He's got some girth. He's beefy, but he's also really tall. And you can see that he still doesn't cover too much higher than the top of Battle Cat's saddle. And then, I mean, I guess we can just go ahead and put him on. Just put him on. You see that he doesn't really sit all that great on there because he's got the loincloth and everything like that. But you can see what he looks like on top of him. And I can tell you that 7-inch scale figures do work pretty well on him. You know, let's actually get him in frame. And these are just some really big figures that scale really nicely together. So I'm really excited to see what the new He-Man is going to look like on this guy, because he's an absolute beast. He's incredibly massive, especially within his own line, but really compared to just about any other toy you have, he's going to put them in their place when it comes to size. So yeah, this is a winner. Like, that's really what it is. This is a winner. I really do like this figure. I've been having a ton of fun with it. It has not really left my presence since I got him home, and it's just a lot of fun. He works really well within his own line, at least as far as what I've got, but he works incredibly well with classics. I can't stress it enough. If you needed a Battle Cat, this is a good Battle Cat to sort of fudge into classics. Or if you want to use him for other larger scale figures like Mythic Legions, he's definitely going to work really well for that too. I still don't know if I'm 100% on board with the helmet. Something about that design just isn't my favorite. But the rest of the figure is really well done. Moves great, looks fantastic, tons of size, and again, it's just nice to see this big monster green cat back on shelf. So that's going to do it for this look at the Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation Battle Cat. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.